Malin Faulkner, everybody. Let's give her a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. I like that. Shimmer. Why not shimmer? Not just shine. I like that. Say that fast 5 times. Shimmer, shine. So I wanted to bring to our awareness again this morning what I covered a little bit last Sunday in regards to our beautiful prayer that was given by our beloved practitioner, Cindy Cleveland, and then moved into that meditation time. And it's because I talked a little bit last Sunday about the brain having 5 different types of waves. And there's a lot of power. There's a lot of healing power and a lot of guidance and direction that we can purposefully use for those 5 brain waves. And we incorporated in the service now the border between alpha and theta. So I'm just going to give you a little snippet of what we're doing now in our Sunday service in regards to meditation. It is said that a sense of deep spiritual connection and unity with the universe is experienced in theta. Now, theta is one of the 5 brain waves. Your mind's most deep-seated programs are at theta, and it is where you experience vivid visualizations, great inspiration, profound creativity, and exceptional insight. So at the alpha-theta border, that's where the optimal range for visualization, mind programming, and using the creative power of your mind. And so it's at this mental state where you consciously create your reality. So it's at this frequency where we're conscious of our surroundings, however, our body's in deep relaxation. So I could think of not a better type of music to hold during our prayer time and then our extended meditation time than at that border of alpha-theta brainwaves. How cool is that? I think it's pretty cool. So I wanted to give you a little description of what that was about. We've incorporated it now. It's become a part of our order of service every Sunday morning. And so come on out and get your alpha-theta border brainwaves on with us, okay? Right on. Yeah, really. So we've moved into a new month of July. What a beautiful month it has already begun to be. And in this month, we are declaring. That is our subject, and our theme for this month is declaration. And did you know that absolutely everything that we do and everything that we say is actually a declaration? It's a declaration of our life. It's a declaration of how we're feeling in the moment, what we're holding in consciousness in the moment, what we perceive and think about our life in the moment. Everything that we do and say is in fact a declaration. And there's so much to share and to bring into and incorporate in this Sunday service this morning that all week long I've needed to kind of boil it down and boil it down and boil it down and created this succulent reduction that I want to pour all over everything for you this morning. Could you just imagine, when you go to a restaurant, usually it's like on a duck confit or something, but they pour these reductions on there that's just, it's an explosion of flavor, but it's just a little bit. So I'm going to do my best to put just a succulent reduction on what it is that we're going to cover this morning. That sound, that phrase, I declare, my grandmother, the whole time I've grown up and I have known her, she always says that, I declare, if something were to happen, if something were to fall in the kitchen or something, she goes, oh, I declare. Or, somebody surprises them with a visit, they knock on the door, well, who is it? I declare, who is that? That's kind of something that she says, it's her thing. And so think about that, she's I declare, she's affirming whatever it is that she's experiencing in that moment, and I doubt she even knew that she was doing that every time, because whether it was, like some of us, we say a few other things if something falls on her foot. Blessed soul that she is, she says, I declare. Well, that's what we're kind of going into this morning, is we're declaring. And we're wanting to bring, what I'm wanting is to bring into our conscious awareness that we get to choose what we declare. It doesn't have to be an automatic response. Just like if something were to fall on our foot, we get to actually have choice on what we declare. Now, declarations are affirmations, and we go on making them all the time. And this weekend, they were doing this Twilight Zone whatever you call it, a marathon, Twilight Zone marathon. And we recorded them all because I hadn't watched Twilight Zone in years, and I remember just loving it because it always made me think. It was a show that inspired me to step out of the box, and it really made me think. So we got to watch some Twilight Zone this weekend during a little bit of our downtime. And one Twilight Zone that I watched, took a little bit of a 30-minute break yesterday from work and watched this, and it was about this banker that on his way to work one morning, he flipped a coin into this box of this guy that was selling newspapers, and the coin stood on end. And the guy selling newspapers was like, wow, that's like a 1 in a billion experience, to have that coin stand up on end. Boy, this is your lucky day. And he gives him the paper, and in less than 2 seconds, he goes to step off the curb and he gets hit by a car. Now, he wasn't hurt by that. That's the good news. But something happened. As you know, something always happens in the Twilight Zone. And he started hearing what people were thinking. The guy that hit him in the car, rushed out, oh, are you okay? Or are you doing okay? Mark, I think we need to tone that down just a little bit because I'm getting some feedback. Thank you. You're doing a great job, by the way. So he started hearing what people were saying, and the guy that came out of the car was like, are you okay? Are you fine? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're not bruised. And to himself, he was like, oh, you stupid jaywalker. If you had jaywalked, I wouldn't hit you. The guy was like, what? Because he could now hear what people were thinking. So he goes on to work. And there's this whole episode about that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to you is he had this older coworker that had been with the bank for 20 some odd years. And he, of course, was hearing what the coworker was thinking in his mind. And he was at his desk, and he says, oh, been here over 20 years, and I've never been acknowledged or recognized for all that I've given to this bank, and I've been so loyal. You know what I'm going to do at 4:30 today when I leave? I'm going to take my bag into the vault, and I'm going to stuff it full of money, and I'm going to get on a plane to Bermuda tonight. Well, the guy, hearing his thoughts, was like, oh, no. This is not good. What should I do? Do I have a moral obligation to do something about this? He's going to steal from the bank. So he goes and talks to his other coworker, woman, and she said, well, you kind of have a bound duty to the shareholders and to the depositors of the bank to do something about it. So he goes and he tells his boss, so the boss goes and tells the security guard. So at 4:30, sure enough, the older guy gets up and he goes to the vault with his bag, and he comes back out, and the security guard says, hold on a minute, we want to see what's in your bag. And they dump his bag out, and there wasn't any money in it. There was his newspaper and his glass holder, but there was no money. And so the old guy was like, the coworker that heard him think that, he said, I'm so sorry, but I could have sworn I heard you make these plans. And he started laughing. He says, I made those plans every single day, almost from the time I started working here. He says, I changed the location around a little bit. Sometimes it's not Bermuda, sometimes it's Jamaica, sometimes it's and so the reason why I'm bringing that up is this was his declaration. He thought this every single day, but he never did it. And so I'm wondering, how much are we in integrity with what we declare throughout our day? Was he really in integrity with what he said he was going to do, but he wasn't going to do it? I mean, what does that do for us? How much are we in alignment with what we declare and tell ourselves every single day regarding either our life experience or how we look or who we're with or what we're doing? Does it match up pretty well? I mean, do you follow through with that which you tell yourself you're declaring about your life? And you don't have to answer that. I'm just asking for you to ponder. I got to ponder that this week. I actually started to take a really good look at it. And I found that there are some areas in my life where I'm out of integrity with what I declare almost on a daily basis and then I don't do, or what I declare I'm not going to do and then I do. And it really opened my eyes to that. I thought, oh, well, since I really want to be in alignment and I want to be in balance, I'm declaring something here about my life. I'd really like to pay more attention to that and find out, well, what is it that's keeping me from going forward with what I'm declaring to be my good, or what is it that's causing me to do what it is that I say I don't want to do? So I got to take a really good hard look at that. Made me think about this. Who are you before you truly wake up in the morning? I mean, really, who are you? Who are you as a consciousness? What was that, Tricia? Tricia said something there. Angel, yes, you're an angel. Well, you're an angel after you wake up, my dear. But who are you really in consciousness, even before you fully gain full consciousness from when you wake up? And what I mean by that is, who are you before you zip your skin up? Literally, before you put your skin on of what your family thinks you are, or what your job thinks you are, or what the whole world thinks you are, what your country thinks you are. Who are you? Before you put all of those identifiers and labels on yourself, before you step into what you think you're supposed to be. And does it align with your truth? It's a question for us this morning. Bob Marley says this. I know, don't you love Bob Marley? Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. You know, my talk title today is Declaration of Independence. We're declaring all the time, just like I said my grandma declares all the time. Well, emancipation really comes from within, doesn't it? The only way that we can possibly be free and experience true freedom is through our thoughts. We can free our mind through our thoughts. You know, Nelson Mandela did this. The whole time he was imprisoned, he didn't see himself as an imprisoned soul. His soul was free. His mind was free. You know, it was that, he says, you know, you can do anything to my body, but you can't do anything to my soul. You can't control where I'm going to invest my time and energy and thinking and creating and declaring, because declaration is an affirmation. I just absolutely loved Nelson Mandela. And you know, Gandhi did that too, actually. He was the perfect example of that. The only way to deal with an unfree world, now if you're feeling like you might be living in an unfree world somewhere, whether it's in your job or with your family or in your country or wherever you might be, if you by chance are feeling that way, let me just let you know that the best way to deal with an unfree world is to become absolutely free, and so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. That's exactly what Nelson did, and Gandhi. That your very existence is an act of rebellion because you are so free here and here and here in the solar plexus. Nobody can tell you what to think but you. And if you decide to take on what somebody else is telling you to think, that's a choice you're making. And just as soon as you make it, you can unmake it. You know, I have to share with you, I got an email a few weeks ago from somebody, this gentleman that felt it upon himself to share with me what his beliefs were. And because his beliefs were not necessarily the beliefs of our center, he went on to share with me what he thought was going to happen to me, and and all that. And you know, and the thing is, the email was really long, and I read it, and I have to tell you, you know, I'm being true to my being here. The only thing I felt for this guy was just complete and utter love and compassion, because that's freedom. That's freedom. I live in this area, in this belief that we are all free to choose to believe whatever we want. And I fully respect and honor and uphold his beliefs, and that they are his beliefs. And I know that he is connected to the divine in whatever way feels good to him. And I honor that. I also honor the fact that we get to choose whatever beliefs we want to take on. And if by chance I start using somebody else's beliefs to make myself feel bad, what have I just done? Think about that. So we're declaring our independence. And now we're going to kind of get into, well, what is it that we're independent from and independent of? You know, there's this thing called emotional incarceration. I worked for a few years with ex-offenders in a program that I started at the Salvation Army years ago, and it was a faith-based transitional housing program with ex-offenders, and they got to be in my program for a whole year. And the beautiful part about it is I got to teach them science of mind classes. It was really awesome. But I tell you, folks who are incarcerated for real, you know, physically incarcerated, they tend to become very emotionally incarcerated. And even though they got out of prison and they served their time and they came into the program, they didn't feel free. And their actions and their behavior and their attitude and their choices reflected that. They were emotionally still incarcerated. And of course, I brought that to their mind and started teaching them science of mind teachings, so that there's this phrase, and I believe I put it in the newsletter this past week. Golly, it's got to do with free. It's got to do with freedom. Can anybody remember the little picture that I put in the newsletter? What did it say? Here's a test for you. How many people are reading the newsletter out there? I declare. No, it wasn't I declare. But it was, you'd think I'd remember it, but I just had this massive, blockage here, and you would need to do instant recall. It's about freedom, so somebody think of it. But anyway, I taught them to say this phrase whenever they would, because we know it's all about, it starts with awareness, right? And when they start to become aware that they are acting and behaving and seeing the world and emotionally incarcerated, they say this phrase to bring them right back into the stepping into and declaring their freedom. Because they were free, but they didn't believe that they were free. How many of us are truly free, because we're all free, by the way, but don't truly believe that we're free? Maybe overall or in a particular situation. I don't know. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. So it takes strength to be free, and this is what I taught them. Yes, it's in the little box. It's in the little box there. Oh, she's good. She pulled up the newsletter. No, let's see. Uh-oh. It's not in the little box, is it?
You can shrink it.
Okay. Let freedom ring is what's in the little box. Let freedom ring. So I would tell them, let freedom ring. Think about that. Let freedom ring. All I'd have to do is say that one thing, no matter where we were, and they would immediately move into that experience of being outside of emotional incarceration and into freedom. But this is what I taught them. This is what I'm going to pass on this morning, is it takes strength to be free. It doesn't take anything at all to roll over and say, oh, this is my lot. This is my experience in life. This is what's happened to me, or this is what's been given to me, or this is the diagnosis I've been given, or this is the job I'm in. It doesn't take much at all to roll over and say, I give up. I'm just going to live out the rest of my days in this experience, even though I don't feel all that alive in it. I'm not feeling all that independent in it. It takes strength to be free. Freedom means to deal with the realities of our situation, but not to be overcome by them. It's the manifestation of a quality of being and living that results not only from understanding one's situation, but also from the wisdom in helping us deal with it. Because, folks, that's life. If we weren't dealing with particular situations and garnering and gaining the knowledge that comes from each one, we'd be dead. Because that's what life is. Think of the wisdom and the gifts and the keys, the incredible qualities. There was this incredible person that I met at our last conference at Bishop Flunder, and I loved what she said, because I know that we all have our life stories, and that we've probably had some difficult things that we've had to experience in our life. But Dr. Yvette Bishop Flunder said, and I'd give nothing for my life. I would trade nothing for everything that has brought me to this moment, because that's where our gifts and our wisdom comes from. It takes no strength to give up. It takes no strength to accept the shackles of circumstances so that they become shackles to our soul, to shrug the shoulders of bland acquiescence. That's easy. That's a sellout. We surrender. We give up. It takes strength to affirm the highest prerogative for your spirit. It takes strength to declare the highest for your spirit. And when you do, the universe swoops in and supports you in every which way that you could possibly imagine, and lots of ways that you could possibly not imagine. Something magical happens, folks, when we start declaring the best and highest for our good in every single situation. Every situation. Now, as you can see, I'm wearing my shirt here. We the people means everyone. And my beloved husband bought this for me when we were working Pride Fest a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely love it. I know for a fact that this is what our country was founded on. I know for a fact that this is what I hold to be the truth within my soul. I don't even consider it people. We everything. You know, it's not just the humans. I believe that we are all made in the image and likeness of the divine creator, and that we are all deserving of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No matter what you are, whether you're a rock, a mineral, a four-legged creature, a feathered creature, or a two-legged. Whatever you want to fill in the blanks to put instead of people, we everything means everyone. And that's truly how I feel. Jim Morrison says this. I'm kind of on a singer quote today. Jim Morrison, expose yourself to your deepest fear. After that, fear has no power, and the fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes, and you are free. It's another thing that we get to declare. We get to move from this apathy and from this, we give up, we surrender to whatever circumstance. We get to move into this strength of being free. We get to do that by facing our fear, and usually it's fear that we are facing. It's not the individual circumstance. It's not the individual condition. It's the fear about it that we get to experience. Because usually, if we really take a good hard look at the circumstance or condition or experience, it's beautiful. I mean, there isn't anything that exists outside of the divine. Everything is created for our best and highest good. Absolutely everything. I know this. I've been through it. I can stand here and say everything that we experience is experienced to bring us a greater understanding of the divine, a greater understanding of beauty, of enlightenment, of being able to understand how we declare in every moment our best and highest and our good. Nelson Mandela says, for to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains. So now we're moving. I'm going to kind of shift us now in this quote. For those folks in the Salvation Army that were emotionally incarcerated, and all of us that might be emotionally incarcerated in one particular thing, it is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. I have to be in integrity with who and what I am, I have to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Doesn't mean I have to believe in what they believe, but I certainly promote and honor that they have the freedom to believe what they believe. I respect that. And I do know that a better life, a better community, a more freeing and more creative experience comes from that. I do know that. And so I bless that individual that sent me that email a few weeks ago. I bless him completely. And I honor his faith. I honor his belief. And I also say, pay attention. Pay attention to anything that causes you or asks you to take on somebody else's belief that doesn't feel right and good for you. Only you get to declare that. You know, a lot of what we do and what we say we believe in is because of what's socially acceptable. You'd be amazed. I'm amazed all the time at what social acceptance causes us to do or not do. I don't know if to what degree you followed this bus that was full of the children that was handled in a particular way. You know, there was a study conducted not too long ago in a very affluent part of our country where there's a lot of very high-end shopping stores and a lot of people with a whole lot of wealth, according to the Earth standards. This study was conducted where they put a little girl up with a sign. And the sign just said, "Please help me feed my little brother." That's all it said. And they put her up there with the sign, and they videotaped her hour after hour after hour, after all of these very affluent shopping people walked by and read her sign, and not one single person stopped, not one single person gave her any money whatsoever to help her feed her little brother, because it wasn't socially acceptable. One of the things that I learned very well when I was working in the Salvation Army with the ex-offenders is they might have been emotionally incarcerated, but by God, they had a lot of compassion. And the amount of love and caring that they did for the families that were in the shelters was amazing. They considered them part of their family. And these were mostly, now we had women, but most of them were guys, and they were guys that were, pretty buff and could certainly take care of themselves and others, and they became very protective of the kids and the families that were in the shelter and of everybody, really. They looked out for one another, which is really amazing because they had nothing but what was in their bag. But I tell you what they did have is they had love and compassion. They weren't following any particular socially acceptable strain of belief. And that's all I can figure out from that study, is that's why nobody stopped to give this girl some change or some money or even food. I mean, why not? In the video, there's people walking by just chowing down on food. Why? I guess the question isn't why, though, is it? It always comes down to us individually. Be the change you want to see in the world. I know that if I am seeing that, I need to work on my love and compassion within me. I know that if I am seeing that going on outside of myself, that there is some love and compassion and selflessness that wants to be birthed through me, that wants to be given. And as I work on myself and I declare my independence from judgment, from fear, from what if I'm going to be seen like as a freak if I give this little girl money? I mean, who knows what was going through these people's minds? Not one single person stopped. I mean, come on. All I can figure is it had to have been socially unacceptable. So I'm going to work on that within myself because that's what I see. I'm going to declare my independence from. This past week I was working with someone who had received some news, and they were very, very upset about the news that they received. But in the time that I was working with this person, they were really mad at themselves because of the way they were reacting in fear to the news that they received. And so I just gently pointed out that level of consciousness scale that I covered in last week's service, in last week's lesson. And I'm telling this person, think about that. You remember the level of consciousness scale? Well, anger is above fear. So it's okay to be angry with yourself for being afraid of something, because fear is at a lower level of consciousness than anger. And she was just lifting herself up in the best way that she knew to be. And judgment's even below that. So my thing is, let's declare our independence from judgment. Let's declare our independence from needing to get on ourselves for how we're handling something of what we're going through in the moment, because the universe supports us in every way. If you're feeling angry about being in fear about something, you're on the right track. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And so I want to bring out those folks in that upscale town that didn't give the girl any money. On the level of consciousness scale, pride is right before courage. You see, it takes courage. It takes strength to move into a level of freedom where we can declare our independence from pride. Because if they had just moved themselves out of the feeling of pride, they would have been, I'm imagining, this is kind of how I'm feeling about it, they would have been fine being able to give this little girl some money to feed her brother. So that's the other thing. Let's declare our independence of judgment of everything. That kind of helps. There is a motto that was established by our founding fathers, E pluribus unum. Out of many, one is what that means. We are a nation of nations. We are still one. Many people have considered our nation a nation of melting pots. It took all kinds to create this nation that we call America. We have a multifaceted heritage, and we are still one. One. Like it or not, we have been created to be one. We the people means everyone. So it means not just the little girl holding up the sign, but all the people that walked past her. It means not just this center where we teach people how to think, not what to think. It means also loving the folks that send the emails that try to tell me something different. You see, we're one. I am one with him. I'm one with all those people that walked by that girl. We are one. So as we celebrate this incredible holiday that we have, where we at one time, long time ago, declared our independence, which was signed in 1776, we also affirm our fundamental interdependence with our fellow citizens of our community, our country, and our planet. The first Declaration of Independence was written by Will Durant in 1944. The first Declaration of Interdependence. And since then, there's been many different versions written. And it's just a few lines, and I want to share them with you. And then I'm going to move into this gift that I have for us this morning. So here it is. This was written by Melanie Bacon. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all life is interconnected and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights and responsibilities. That among these are presence, compassion, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights and responsibilities, we open our minds and our hearts to the needs of others and our own true needs. That we hear the sound of the living universe in our ears and add our voices to the song. We live every moment with awareness of the purity and power of existence. And for the support of this declaration, we pledge to each other our love and our breath. For the freedom of the one is the freedom of the all, and the pain of the one is the pain of them all. The breath of the one is the breath of the all, and the breath of the all is the breath of God. That pretty much sums it up for me, folks. That is exactly what I believe. So in this morning and in this moment, we get to declare, I declare, we get to declare our independence from anything and everything that sets us free. I suggest you create a freedom list. What is it that we're this morning declaring our independence in and from? Fear, needing others to change, thinking small, limiting beliefs, judgments. You know, we can exercise our freedom by being courageous, by being strong, by moving from the proud into the courage level, and then on up. Definitely by holding ourselves with compassion, because that's where it starts with. How can I possibly have compassion for my fellow brothers and sisters if I don't have it for me? So if you find yourself getting angry with yourself or being in fear over something, be gentle with yourself and know that you're exactly where you need to be. Because I know that I desire to be in the highest expression that I can be. So today, let us practice independence from mediocrity and complacency and limited living by exercising our freedom to courageously choose to be a beneficial presence on this planet. I am fully committed to living the truth that we are alive to the degree that we serve. And so I have a gift for you this morning. I'm going to play a video that was put together by Dr. David Alt. He is a friend and a colleague of mine. He is the pastor of the Atlanta Center for Spiritual Living. And he created this a few years ago, and I first got to see it during an Independence 4th of July weekend Sunday service that Dr. Maxine Kay was doing in Palm Desert, because she was the assistant minister there for a few years. And I absolutely just fell in love with it. Now, it's a beautiful video. what I find is the greatest gift and beauty of it, though, is the words that he's saying. So this is what I'm going to ask of you. I'm going to ask of you to stay present. Because you will find your mind wanting to wander and your mind wanting to drift, and you'll catch yourself doing that grocery list for the week or, all those things that we do. I am asking to receive the gift that I am bringing to you this morning. Be present with it. Hear and take in every word, because there is something in here for everyone. I know this. So Mark's going to put it up, and we are so grateful for Mark and Nina. Thank you so much. And just enjoy.